All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's scheduled webinar. Without any hesitation, I would like to invite the University Librarian, Dr. Teresa Edu, to give us a short welcome to open today's training. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Fred. Let me see if I can do this. Okay. Good afternoon, my distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's great to see you once again, all of you online. For about 6 weeks now, we've been organizing this program. We have had online programs, and then we have had a two-day program, actually meant to have a hands-on experience, and then for us to also do a proper networking. And you would all agree with me that those 2 days were really interesting times. It was good to have all of you here. We are going towards the end of the program, and we are going to have this Zoom session basically on Mendeley and reference management. We are talking about going into research, and we all know that when we are doing research, then we are talking about how to manage the references we get for our various research activities. One of the problems that a lot of us have is how we manage our references. One, whether we are citing and we are citing well. And there's an easy way of doing all these things, or there are easier ways of doing all these things. One of which is the use of Mendeley and other reference management software. And so today we are going to have this session basically on Mendeley. And I trust that we would all avail ourselves, listen very well. If we have questions, we indicate them, and then we'll be able to have a great session. Hopefully, we'll be using Mendeley to do all our reference work, and then we'll be able to push our research forward. On behalf of the management of UHAS and the management of the library, UHAS Library, I welcome all of you to this session. It's my prayer that we would all leave this place very fulfilled. Thank you very much.
Yes, thanks a lot, Dr. Edu, for the welcome. And I'm pleased to meet everyone here, both those who have been part of the 6-week Train of Trainers course, as Dr. Edu indicated, and all those who are joining us for the first time on this very phase. Actually, today's training is phase 2, of the Research for Life project that is running to train users in literature searching skills and reference management. The phase 1 involved training of trainers from the various schools of the various universities, from our teaching hospital here in Ho, and from a number of government agencies and non-governmental organizations involved in the health and agricultural disciplines. So today we are happy to have all of us here on board from various places. I hope some will even be coming from outside the continent who want to participate in this version of the training that is basically focused on search skills and Mendeley reference management. So I'll briefly just show my face and then I'll take it off and we'll start for the day. All right, so I am Fred Haibo, e-resources and training, UHAS Library. Thank you very much. All right, so I'll start off by sharing my screen and taking us through part 1, which is on search skills. All right, so I hope you can all see my screen at the moment. So this is the outline for today's training. It's quite a tall outline, but we'll make it very short. So no worries at all. And I think at this point, I should quickly drop the link to this outline in the chat for you. So those who want to download it or just connect to it, you can also see it and follow as we progress. So please, in the chat now, you have the link to the outline for our learning this afternoon. So I am going to be dealing with the first part, which has to do with searching for the literature and retrieving the contents for our own purposes. So as a first step, before you manage references, you must get the references to manage. Okay, so how do we get the references? How do we get, by references here or citations, we basically refer to the literature, the documents that we refer to while doing our research, particularly for secondary data. Okay, so we all know literature review is a major part of research, and sometimes it is done as a main research standalone, or usually as part of the research effort itself. You are supposed to refer to other scholars within your field of scholarly communication in order to establish and focus your own arguments. So in the first place, how do we get the literature? Well, there are various ways of doing so, and there is no wrong way of searching for the literature. Anyhow that you search and get your literature is right. That is it. The only thing is that there are some more efficient ways of doing the literature retrieval. And so those are some of the things we are going to discuss briefly this afternoon before we go on with the Mendeley reference management. Now, the first thing I want us to all look at is negotiating access. How do we access the content that we want to retrieve from any source? Of course, there are myriads of sources. People can be sources of information. We can also access information from print sources in libraries. All right, so the first thing I want us to look at is critically this. Now, in the world of information, there's really very little difference between what we call data and information, because the process of knowledge creation is cyclical, and at any point in time, what is data at a certain stage might be information at another stage. So I want to refer to the Open Data Institute's infographic on what they call the data spectrum to try and explain certain facts about information or the literature that we are looking for in order to build our research on. Now, here on the Open Data Institute site, they try to explain to us that, of course, sometimes we try to mix up concepts, but it is possible to simplify this whole issue about data and access to data, or in this case, information or literature, because we are doing literature search, okay? But if we understand this concept, of degrees of openness of data or information, we will also understand why we have levels of access. There is privileged access, there is open access, there's free access. Now, how does that work in the world of information? Now, intellectual content or people's intellectual products or property are actually controlled by licenses. So people who create knowledge decide how their knowledge can be put to use or be reused by other people who are benefiting from that knowledge. And because of that, data is actually seen as being on a spectrum. If you look at this infographic right now, the data is seen in two perspectives, and you can see the arrows in two dimensions. The left pointing out, the smaller one at the top, is talking about the size of data or the amount of data. Okay, so looking at the infograph, when we move to the left, we are looking at the decrease in terms of quantum of data or information. Then the second arrow at the top there, which points to the right, is telling us the types or categories of data. All right, now coming to the infograph itself, you can see at the very first point on the far left, we have closed access, or what we call closed data. Now, of course, that is one fact you have to bear in mind. It is not every kind of data or information that we can have access to. And of course, many of us on this call right now are from the medical and health sciences background. So that is very easy to understand, particularly when it comes to dealing with people's medical records or other kinds of personal sensitive information. We know that the fact that you need information does not mean any information at all that you need can be given to you. There are rules in terms of ethics and legal issues surrounding people's information or data. Now, moving to the right, we see that there is some kind of shade between the closed and the shared access. There's one called the named access. So it means that between closed and shared, you can have some level of access based on privilege. For example, if you are a medical doctor treating a particular patient, then by means of your association with that process of someone's cure or treatment, automatically you are supposed to have access to their medical records in order to understand their history and know what exactly to assist them with in terms of their health and recovery process. So that one is the named access. You will usually be giving some kind of credentials to access a certain kind of platform for those kinds of privileged information or data. Then, of course, as we move towards the open or free access, you see that there are certain levels or layers of restriction or authentication required again. For example, with group-based access, such as, let's say, in university systems where we have library subscriptions, you realize that members of a particular university will be given access to certain subscribed databases or resources that others who are outsiders do not have access to. So that again explains the fact that there are layers or degrees of openness when it comes to data or access to information in the literature. And then if we move closer to the free or open era, we see that there is what we call public access. Okay, so in terms of public access, of course, anyone at all can connect and see and perhaps even use the data to some degree. But again, there are rules, okay, that regulate how you can use other people's information in terms of reuse of content. Then, of course, in the very more current era, when we have big data and all manner of open access publishing and the open science movement, you know, going on, there is an increasingly abundant availability of information, high quality information, peer-reviewed literature for free, or which are openly licensed. That means you have been given the freedom to reuse these kinds of content almost in an unlimited way. But again, though we are not going deeply into what open science is about and what open licenses are, we understand exactly, even in that domain, there are degrees of restriction again. Okay, the Creative Commons licenses tell us degrees of openness again, even though they are supposed to be open licenses again, there are some that restrict how you use the information in terms of making commercial capital out of whatever data you have curated or accessed. There are some that require you to use it anyhow you wish, but perhaps also share it the same way that you accessed it and all of so all those rules or licenses about how you can use a particular intellectual content do exist. So all I want to explain with this infographic is the fact that when you go into any retrieval system, you should expect that you won't find every single piece of literature there as free and accessible to you. There are some that are toll-gated, the publishers require you to pay for. There are some that are published open access. Someone else has already paid for it through an article processing charge. Either your institution paid for it through approval, certain kinds of arrangements with the publishers, or the sponsors of that research may have paid for it, so it is free, all right? So at this point, we will move to the next level of our discussion, looking critically at beyond the open data and closed data, or paywall and unpaywall. We have the ability to actually navigate our way around in terms of how we gain access to a certain content, even if they are restricted. The fact is, yes, it is possible to gain access to some of this content using certain tools, okay? And I'm going to very briefly touch on some of those tools. All right, so I mentioned publications, and I'll quickly mention that before the tools, that some open access publications do exist, all right? And here I have a link for the DOAJ, for example, the Director of Open Access Journals. On this site, for example, you have thousands of curated open access journals. You can search a particular journal or search for articles within a journal, or just search for any article at all using any keyword, and you'll be taken straight. This is just an indexer, so it doesn't really populate the full text here, but it will link you to the source where you can have the full text access for free. For example, if I choose to search for an article on maternal health, okay, Ghana, I'll add Ghana to it. And I'm searching in all fields. Of course, we'll come back to this. You can see here it says all fields. I can choose anywhere that I want to search. So let me say all fields. And then when I search, I want all of you to take note of the number of results that I'm going to get with this particular search. And then later we'll come and change where we look for that term, maternal health Ghana, and see what happens when we are dealing with refining of search. All right, so when I go down here, it tells me it has indexed 501 articles, which are all open access, okay, on maternal health Ghana. And here they are, page 1 of 51. So I can just scroll down and read the quick summaries of these. For example, I'm interested in the geostatistical analysis and mapping, social and environmental determinants of under 5 child mortality evidence from 2014 Ghana Demographic and Health Survey. So if I'm interested in this, it tells me it is in BMC Public Health, and it was published September 2020. All right. And these are the authors: Justice Moses, K. Aheto, Robert Yankson, Michael Gibb, Chipeta. So simply click on the title. Okay. Now I have integrated some tools. You are seeing some certain things. I'll talk about them later. So once you are here, it gives you the option. So if I go to the DOI, I'm going straight to the publisher. It gives me the volume. The DOI, Digital Object Identifier, I'm sure most of us are already familiar with this. It's a unique ID given to any digital object or content that is created online. All right. So if you want to read the abstract, you can read it all here. Or if you want to read the document online too, you can go here. But I think most of the time we want to download. So when you click on the DOI, okay, it takes you to the publisher's page. So this BMC Public Health, as you can see, this is the article. It tells you it's open access, published 18 September 2020, and you can see it says download PDF. So it's just a matter of clicking this and your full text download is done. All right. So that is about connecting to the free resources or open access publications. Okay. I mentioned we'll come back to this. So we are going to come back. Now, going back to the tools, apart from going straight to sites such as the DOAJ or DOAJ, Directory of Open Access Journals, and for those who have been able to access the outline that I shared, you see that I've made comments over here, all right? So in my comments, you can see that apart from the journals, I also indicated that if you're interested in books, okay, maybe you are dealing with undergrads who are more interested in ebooks than the journal publications, there are also resources for books. Here are just few examples I've listed here because our discussion today is going to be really short. Okay, so DOA Books is just the book version of DOAJ. So this is a directory of open access books, DOA. And you can go to Intech Open, is a publisher of open access. Also, Open Textbook Library, all these publish open access books. So for those who are interested in books, you can simply go there and you'll be able to check on your discipline or your field of learning and see if you have any content there for you. Then talking about the tools, I mentioned that yes, though there are degrees of openness and some items may be closed, it is possible to again navigate your way around and have access to these items. So I want us to look at a few of these tools that can help us to gain open access to some toll-gated materials legally, all right, legally. So here I have just linked one of these tools, which is called, in fact, it used to be called Copernicus. It's now EndNote Click, okay? It is now EndNote Click. So if you click on that link that I shared, or if you just go Google EndNote Click, okay, you come to this resource, and all you have to do is, it tells you add to Chrome because I'm using Chrome currently. Now, I think I should just make a quick dash back and indicate something that I even showed here in my my comments, okay? If you observe, in my comments here, I indicated the first step. Okay, the first step is for you, or best practice, okay, is for you to first localize or customize a particular browser for your research activities. Okay, the best practice is to first adopt a browser for your academic or scholarly activities. And I suggest Chrome. The reason is because Chrome actually brings together so many educational and scholarly tools. Okay, many of them sponsored by Google itself. So the reason for this is that some of these tools that you'll be installing are browser plugins, all right? So if you decide, okay, I'm using Chrome for all my scholarly activities, then that is it. It is easy for us to work with Chrome and get our plugins installed there. There are several, even the document I'm using right now, as you can see, it's an online document. This is a Google document that I have added. I've shared links with you. I've added other colleagues who are also editing at the same time. So Chrome, I find, or Google Suite, I find to be very useful to the academic settings. For those who are in academia or research, Chrome should not be a bad browser for you to use for your scholarly activities. So all I have to do here is click on Add to Chrome. And once I add to Chrome, it will show up in my plugins tab. So that's the whole process. Add to Chrome, I'm adding, and that's it. It's up there. Now, if you do this and you don't see the add-on directly here, don't worry. These are all add-ons that I have here. You can see this extensions icon. It looks like a puzzle. If you can look at what my mouse pointer is showing right now, that is your extensions icon. So when you click on it, all the extensions that you have will show here. If you want to see them on your browser's menu here, all you have to do is just click on the push pin here. Okay, that is to pin. So if I click on the push pin here, now my EndNote Click is pinned here. All right, so on any site at all, I can decide to go here to look for an item in terms of its free version. Now, we will not go in details about EndNote Click, but later try it yourself and see. It goes beyond just giving you indications as to which of the items is freely available. In fact, EndNote Click can help you to even do a login to your university library once. And then anytime you do a search for any item, EndNote Click will try to get the full text for you through your university library. And if it doesn't find it, it will try other sources of open access. And that's it. if you watch closely, you can see this extensions icon appear here like a puzzle. I'll explain that. But as you can see, the installation is done. The second thing is it wants my name and email address to set up my account on EndNote Click. And the reason is that EndNote Click works like a buffer between you and your library. And so if you go through the setup right now, you realize that it might even at a stage ask you for your library account details, so that anytime you're on a site, EndNote Click will try to connect with your library login credentials to get the content that you're looking for from your own library for you, using your student or whichever privileged access you have to that particular library. And if you cannot find the document through your library, it will look for other open access sources to try and supply you that. And of course, EndNote Click will serve also as a storage area for you. It's your account, so you have a dashboard. All the materials that you get by EndNote Click will be stored there. At any time at all, you can log in and download your records from there. Now, I mentioned this particular plugin or extensions icon. If you click on it, you see whatever extensions or plugins that you have actually downloaded for your browser. At this stage, it is not showing on the menu bar because I have not pinned it. So if you want to see EndNote Click here, all you have to do is to click the push pin here, all right? Click on the push pin itself, and you realize that it is now pinned to your menu bar. That's EndNote Click, all right? So if you go through the entire setup process, which I am not going to do, I think I already have this, but I'm not going to repeat it. If you go through this whole process, then anytime you are on a particular site, EndNote Click will pick up data or information resources that are available open access and add it to your safe. And it is possible for you to go into that particular safe and download the documents from there, or for a later reference, you can go in there and pick your items in PDF. All right, EndNote Click is not the only item. In fact, if you go through the process here and actually successfully complete, you will see Google Chrome giving you other options like the open access button. I think I have made notes on that also here. Okay, that you will be able to see others, including open access button, and paywall, quite a number of them. What about Mendeley that is supposed to be the main focus for today's interaction, for instance? Mendeley is more than just a reference management app or software, right? Mendeley also allows you to search online catalogs for open access publications. And so if you go to mendeley.com right now, the first page that you'll be greeted with is their search engine, and you can actually search for records from there. I've included all of that in my notes or my comment section here.
Now, after the EndNote Click is installed, several other different kinds of open access tools like paywall, open access button. These are just a few that I'm mentioning. They all exist to help you to get. And the reason why I love the open access button, for example, is that you see, we mentioned about legal access to toll-gated items, all right? Now, some of the items your library has not subscribed to and you don't have the money to buy, you can actually write to the author to send you a copy, all right? So the open access button facilitates that process. It allows you to just indicate how useful you think the document is for your research or whatever, and then using your email, the author will get back to you and send you the full document. So requesting the document from the author, the original author of the document, is one legal way of getting access to or getting around toll-gated publications. So don't forget, all these are there: EndNote Click and paywall, open access button, and myriads of them, and other apps for your research assistance.
Click. And I mentioned that if you successfully, go through the entire process, EndNote Click is installed and you are able to use it. You realize that, and I want to show you from here at once. You can see that
right here, after installing EndNote-Click, as I mentioned from the Chrome Web Store, you can see several other open access tools quickly come up, selling themselves to you. At any time at all, you should try this and look for which ones you think are important. For example, you can see the Google Scholar button. You can see the Mendeley Web Importer is going to be one of the things you are going to be dealing with under Mendeley. Then you see others like Easy Pubmed, ScholarScope. I mentioned open access button already. So here it is. You can see it right here, open access button. You can also find academic related, whatever. Then you can find this one also, science research assistant. So, and of course, I think I mentioned this one as well, the Unpaywall, okay, that green open padlock, as you can see it right there. So that's what I mean by once you have installed one of them, the rest will come up. You can make your own choice among these. First click, read about it and see if you think it is important. So that is about the tools.
All right. Now, apart from the tools, there are also search platforms, okay, or what we call databases for discovery. Many times we start out with a search and it looks like there's a dearth of literature. We don't really have enough on this topic. But the most important thing is, if you know these discovery tools or platforms for searching documents, it is easy to link from the few relevant documents that you have now to others. For example, I've just linked connected papers here. I'm sure a lot of you already know connected papers, okay? It allows you to discover a lot of literature related to what you already have. So if I have a particular title right now, okay, let me look for my maternal health Ghana again. Maternal health Ghana. Maternal health is quite a broad concept, so probably I'll have a lot of literature on that. Okay, so ecological zone and health insurance coverage, risk factors for, okay, I'll pick risk factors for cesarean sections. Great, all right. So connected papers actually uses these bubbles to try and give you a lot of information on your paper. This is the original paper that you have entered. And you can see that it gives you related papers. Now, if you log in for the first time, it will actually give you explanation of how the graph works. If you watch here, connected papers tells me how to read this graph. It says that each note is an academic paper related to the original paper. Then, okay, I think it has collapsed that, but I'll bring it back. Then it says that apart from the notes, like the bubbles you are seeing, being papers related, the papers are arranged according to their similarity. And this is not a citation tree, okay? So similarity, that means how closely related the paper is. And so you see that the notes have sizes. The size of the note is actually the number of citations, okay, to that particular article. Then the note color is the publishing year. So the thicker the color, the closer or the more current the publication. That is, the closer it is to the one that you have selected in terms of currency. So the lighter the bubble, it means it's also far removed. So in this particular one, if you watch, and I must move this thing here, or just collapse this all together. Okay, if you watch this closely, you realize that it gives you access to two tabs. It says prior works and then derivative works. Can you see that? Prior works here means that you are doing backward citation chaining. That is, you want to look, it's just like reading an article and looking through the reference list, okay, to see if they are related articles. That reference list is definitely referring to publications that are older than the current one that you are reading. That is backward citation chasing or citation chaining, all right? But derivative works here mean what we actually technically refer to as forward citation chaining. What it means is that these works are actually built on the current one that you are reading, or they have cited the current one that you are reading. And of course, that certainly means that all the derivative works must be younger or more current than the 2020 date. So if this was published, let's say June 2020, then it's likely that papers from August, September, October, November, December 2020, and through 2021
and 2022 may be citing this particular document. So they are much more current than the document itself, all right? The thickness or the coloring, okay, of the bubbles tells you the year. Now, the thickest so far will be your original paper, the paper that you actually selected first. Then other thicker bubbles tell you that they are more recent publications. The lighter the bubble, the older the publication. And you can also see that there are clusterings of these bubbles. So the way they are clustered tells you how more closely these papers are together. So all the papers that are in this cluster, for example, are more closely related in terms of content than the ones that are far away here. Okay. And anytime you point to a particular bubble, watch your display on the right, the details here. So if I move up here to this paper, this is the risk of low birth weight. If I move far away to this 2017 one, inadequate. So each bubble will now display its details here for you. That is connected papers. There are several others. In fact, if you go through the outline, I think that I have given other examples, such as the open knowledge maps. Okay, they are all here. Several others. Open knowledge maps also uses the same bubble system to help you to locate relevant literature that are related to your original search. Maybe I can quickly look at that one also. It works very similar to the connected papers, all right? And here it is built on two different databases. So you can see Pubmed for the life sciences and base for all disciplines. So here, at least, it even gives you the flexibility of choosing the database that you want to search. So if you are coming from the life sciences, you might want to select Pubmed, and then I put in maternal mortality here again. And I simply say go. Now you can see, say your knowledge map on maternal mortality Ghana is being created. Please be patient. This takes around 20 seconds. While you are waiting, find out how the knowledge map is being created below. So simply scrolling below, it says this is how it works. Okay, one, that it presents you with topical overview for your search query based on the 100 most relevant documents matching your query. Then two, they use text similarity to create the knowledge maps, and the algorithm group documents together that have many words in common. Then the visualization is intended to give you a head start on your scholarly search, and you can, identify relevant areas at a glance. All right, you can find out more in the frequently asked questions and all of that. So great. We wait for it to finish creating, and I think voila, it's finished. We just wait for it to load up. And so we look at these kinds of tools that we can use to easily and quickly discover, literature as open access alternatives to the subscribed content. And of course, don't forget what I mentioned earlier. When we say open access, it doesn't mean these are poor quality works. No, they are published by mostly the same commercial, publishers that we know. Lancet publishes open access. Springer Nature, open access. Elsevier has open access journals. So they have the same rigor of peer review. The only thing is that open access publications have been paid for differently. I mean, not by the user, but by the creator or sponsor. And so if you have it free of access, it does not mean it is poor or low quality. All right. So this is how the open knowledge maps also works. You see that it uses bigger bubbles. And of course, it has explained how we should read the map. All right. So you see that mostly all the documents here are open access, and you can get their PDFs by just clicking on the PDF icon here. All right. You can actually search within the map. And so here, each of these, okay, tells you the documents that are populated here. So once I point to it, you can see the description under 5 mortality, 2014 Ghana demographic, whatever. So this one is about child deaths. And if you observe it, you can see it has a smaller bubble. Let's look at this bigger one here, cardiac disease, census data, disease study, whatever. So you get to decide when you click each bubble and you see the contents that are therein, you find out, is this what I want? Is it related to what I am looking for? all that decision is yours to make, all right? It is just a tool I'm showing you, and I hope you should like this particular tool. Now, apart from open knowledge maps, there are several other tools. Don't forget the outline will tell you, by example, where you should look. And of course, one important thing about open access tools is that once you get into one of them, it's likely you'll discover others right from that platform. Like I mentioned about the tools like the open access button, the paywall, the end click, you get to know several other open access tools that can guide and help your research. Some including, editing tools like Grammarly, the Quillbot, and all of that. They are mostly related. Once you get one, the others come up to try and give you notification that, hey, we're also available, you can add us to your research portfolio. You can also use Mendeley itself. Okay, Mendeley is also a discovery tool. It is not only a reference manager, okay? So referencing in Mendeley is very interesting. You can use Mendeley itself, its search engine, to get the papers that you want, while you use the same Mendeley to manage and cite the references. So you have Mendeley, just go to mendeley.com, and it has a big search engine for a lot of open access documents. Now, by now, I believe majority of us know that it is possible to search by several other data types or inputs, just text, all right? Many of us know that we can speak into a Google search engine, and our voice will get translated, and the search engine will map what you have dictated onto resources by translating our audio into text. Okay, that is a speech to text kind of engine. It is possible to do that. Now, we also know that we have Google Lens, so it is possible to point your camera to an image, and Google will pick that image and try to give you information related to that image. Apart from that, you can also open your Google search engine or any other search engine that supports image search, and then drop a picture in it, and it will try to link to the sources of that image. But in this particular case, we are dealing with the biomedical images, images of disease conditions, can be X-ray images, CT scans, whatever, So this is how it comes. As you can see, the URL, it is openeye.nlm.nih.gov, right? And as you can see, the logo here, plainly OpenEye, it says Open Access Biomedical Image Search Engine. Then it says search by text or drop an image. You see, so it is possible for you to use an image to search here, or type maybe the name of a disease or any kind of thing that you want to search. For example, here, I would like to use the example gingivitis. Now, as an image search engine, definitely, even if you have very high resources in terms of internet bandwidth and your computer specs being so high, you can trust that it will load more slowly than text, right? So while this one is loading, I would like us to also talk about another one. We'll come back to this, but we cannot wait all the while as it is loading. So we'll go back straight to the outline, and I want to share something interesting about this very section. I said explore external resources, through these buckets that I shared. But then I also mentioned something, that there is one, okay, that links to Editage. I do not know how many of you know about Editage. Editage is an interesting, support service as well. So for those of you into writing, okay, you want to learn the skills of writing, editing, proofreading, and all of that, Editage does a lot of good work on that. You can create a free account, for learning and practice. But there is another link to associated service, which I am interested in at this stage, because we are dealing with discovery of literature, all right? And that is the R discovery, Now, the interesting thing about this tool is the fact that it has both the web and the mobile platforms, all right? And that is it right here in the upper corner here, R discovery. You say it is by researcher life, researcher.life. Now, how does this work? You see, similar to the two that we looked at connected papers, we looked at open knowledge maps, which all use text similarity. This one works like an alert system. I'll be talking about alerts later on during the search and refine parts of this particular tutorial. So this, similar to Mendeley, and of course, it gives you access to export, or import from Mendeley and all these other citation managers. For those of you who have Mendeley accounts, or you are yet to create it, fine, you will discover this, that during the process of registration, Mendeley is going to require you to indicate your field of study or subject area, or let's say research interest. The reason for doing this is that Mendeley is going to base on your activities in searching and your Mendeley library, how you are populating, and whatever you tell it as your field of research or learning, in order to give you alerts about new publications in the chosen fields of interest. All right. So the R discovery works just that way. And so you can see here, it says select topics of interest. Okay, tell us the topics that you like to read about. Now, why is it doing this? If we tell R discovery the topics of interest, then R discovery is going to be giving you, as it says the top 3 papers to read today. Okay, so interestingly, this particular tool gives you selected papers every single day that match your stated research interest. All right, so you can get started by signing up. I have already got, an account, so I'm not going to sign up. I'll rather sign in just to let you see how it works. So I'll sign in by using my email address. All right. Good. So signing success. So let me see if it has been able to get me some things to read. Of course, so top reads from last 6 months. Wow. So what are my areas of research interest? I indicated I want things on research data management and research data management services, right? And so you see, it builds a library for you, gives you a history. You can explore topics from here, and it always gives you the weekly roundups. You can just take your time, sign up for the R Discovery. I'll put the links in the outline, which I'm going to share with you, and then take your time and see how it works. So my top 3 papers for, I think today, are these ones: effectiveness of data auditing as a tool to reinforce good research data management. Then it looks like the same thing that's repeated here. Yeah, 28. Okay, the next paper here is potential role for science librarians in research data management. I think it's a gap analysis. That's excellent. Then show more papers. If I click on this tab, it's definitely going to, because don't forget, it's a top read from last 6 months. So it's definitely going to expand and give me more of the papers that I have not read. And I must be honest, I've not read all these papers, but I can see every single day it is selecting 3 of the top most relevant papers to my stated research interests, okay, and sending to me to read. And it is doing this in my account, okay? So all I have to do is to link this account to my mobile by simply going to the Google Play Store or whatever phone you are using in this store, okay? And then searching for this, R Discovery. Once your account is already set up here, when you locate R Discovery from Google Play Store or any other store, your Apple Store, whatever, and you sign in using the same email that you used here, it will just automatically sync and you begin instantly receiving a feed of all your suggested papers. I think you should try this too. It is quite interesting. Try it, particularly for your mobile. You will really love this R Discovery tool. You'll just be there. You don't make any search effort. That's the difference. Okay, no search effort. By supplying your research interest, the system itself gives you the current or the most trending topic. I can see all these topics that has given me to read are all very, very current materials. Publication dates such as July 2021, October 2021, September, you can see the dates, all right? So try this tool. It is one of the things that I thought is worth bringing to your attention before we continue. Well, our image library is still loading right, but we'll not wait for it. But I'll have to demonstrate another tool to you. I mentioned Doa books, but we didn't look there. Intercoping, we didn't look at it. Let's perhaps try one of these, which one of them? Let's say Intercoping. Still trying to while away time so that our image library will load up and we'll see what it looks like from Pubmed. All right, so this is Intercoping. It opens by telling we are Intercoping, the world's leading publisher of open access. Of course, there are several publishers of open access, right? This one is dedicated to books and book chapters. Now, there are two things you can do here in Intercoping. One, as you can see, you can go right here to search. If you have any tip, you want to find out a particular topic, but the question here is, when do you need books? All right, when do you need books? You know, books are usually secondary sources of information, sometimes tertiary, depending on the kind of content. All right, textbooks, for example, take a very long time to be published. All right, and because of that, they actually gather the most evidence. Because by the time a book is published, several journal articles may have been published, several researches may have been done, primary research, and a lot of knowledge would have been discovered and synthesized. So the text presents more of a summary or a more objective knowledge on the topic. And so if you really want to deal with a broad topic, for example, when I give the example of reproductive health, Ghana, I said, no, that was too broad, all right? Too broad because at the time I wanted to do that search, I was in a journal search database, the DOAJ, Directory of Open Access Journals, right? So when it comes to books, you can decide to put in very broad topics because books are actually meant for such discussions. Broad topics, not general publications that are more narrow in focus on specific aspects of a particular topic, all right? So some of these things are background knowledge you have to understand that depending on the type of information I'm looking for, I'll have to look for a certain kind of source, okay? Is it a primary source, is it a secondary source, is it a tertiary source of information? Or by this, I mean, am I going to look at a specific research publication or technical paper or government paper, or am I going to be looking at a textbook or a reference book, a drug reference, general reference, whatever it is? Am I going to be looking at trade magazines, or am I supposed to be looking at scientific journals? You will need to determine this based on your question or the problem at hand. You understand? So now, if you are dealing with books, books can come in various forms. A monograph is usually one single volume, okay, covering a special topic of focus, okay, in research. But there can be particular volumes of books that have several contributed works, okay? So in that case, you have what we call book chapters or book sections, all right? In that case, you see several authors contributing to one single book. So in Intercoping here, if you want to search a book chapter, you can just click inside the search box here and then put in an author that you know, or a topic or a title if you know it. If you don't even know the title or author, just put in your keyword and the system will try and generate content matching your keyword. We'll test that. But if you want to search for whole books, okay, you can see books right here, the books menu here. Click on the books here and Intercoping will give you the complete books by subject and any other criteria. So for example, clicking books, you see interface, the interface that changes telling me I can read, share, and download more than 5,500 peer-reviewed open access books. And what are these? Let's check them out. Scrolling down, I see that these books have been categorized. So I have physical sciences, engineering, technology, life sciences, I have health sciences, I have social sciences and humanities. So many of you on this call right now, or for whom this is being prepared, since this is not a live recording, you are from diverse backgrounds, all right? Unfortunately, I am a health sciences librarian, so I don't want to be biased, all right? So yeah, I don't want to go into the health things, but just to show you, all these subject areas are open. You can see we have business, management, economics, 136, psychology, 28, social science, 101. So these various subject categories are there. Whichever one applies to you, please simply click on that and go straight to the books. Okay, so here, where should I click? Maybe I should go into business management. I said I didn't want to be biased. Okay, so the health sciences, please forgive me. Just want to show something to our other colleagues who participated in this particular call. So under this topic, you can see there are 136 books with contributions from 2,567 authors and editors. And it is telling us some interesting things. Look at these databases they are mentioning. These are bibliometric databases. So it's telling us that Web of Science citations that are captured here, or items that are indexed in Web of Science, are 1,367. Wow. And dimensions is indexing 2,500 plus. Whoa. All right. But what are these topics that are treated? If you scroll down now, you see the list. So in accounting, there are 2 books. In business administration, there are 53. Business economics 4, development economics 17, like that, all the way down to urban economics 4 items. But if this is sustainable development, whoa, maybe I'm interested in the SDGs, sustainable development goals. So 7 items published here. Let's see what they are. They may not necessarily be aligned to the UN global goals, but let's just see what they are, 7 books. And so we move down here, we see the titles. It says sustainable organizations, that is one of them. The second one is education, human rights, and peace and sustainable development. The regional development in Africa, sustainability, assessment, and reporting. Oh, I think I'm interested in this one. So when you are doing anything on sustainability, how do you do the assessment and how do you report? Skills development for sustainable manufacturing, globalization, and responsible sustainable development. Oh, how about this one? Okay, so I'm interested in this book. I click on it. Okay, it looks like our image library is now fully loaded. So I may have to go back. Don't forget, I'll just try to while away time, okay, by getting around it. So from Intech Open, I get to know if I'm looking for this title. It is edited by Choki Genai of University of Sharjah, United Arab Emirates, UAE. And when I go down, okay, before I go down, it really tells me the aspects that the book actually captures. It captures education, business and management, architecture, building, construction, agriculture, and security. All right. That's an interesting one for us to know the scope of the material before we even make a decision as to whether we really want it. Okay. So it was published 2012, March 7. All the information is available here. Now, order a hard copy. Someone will say it's open access, yes, but it says hard copy. So it means that if you don't want to get the ebook, you are interested in the print, the physical copy, that one, you have to buy it, all right? But the e-copy is freely available. Nobody will ask you to buy it. Is that okay? Okay, but when you go down, you realize that the chapters are all available. You can download them by chapters. So simply click if chapter 1 is what you're interested in, because sometimes in a book, you may not really be interested in everything. It is very much unlikely that anyone at our level will read a book cover to cover on a topic in research. Usually it will not happen unless it's perhaps a fictional book or a story book that you are interested in following the entire story. But for research, you may be interested in certain topics or subtopics of a particular book. So you look through which one you think is important for you. You download that particular chapter. So that's how the Intech Open works. The other book sources may look different. Now, this is what I was talking about. as a biomedical search engine, open access biomedical search engine. You can actually get this through the National Institutes of Health, National Library of Medicine. Now look at the images related to gingivitis that I searched. All right. Sorry if you don't like what you are seeing, but as technical or science people dealing with human health issues, these are the realities. All right. So if you point to any of these images, you see that they display a brief abstract. All right. First, they tell you the title. So, for example, the image I'm pointing to right now is periodontal diseases, and the subtopic includes it's a bag-induced post-promoted. So, periodontal disease, bag-induced, post-promoted. All right. Now, if I'm interested in this particular topic, you can just simply click on the image. You click on the image, it will open it in a separate tab, or just navigate you. It depends on how you choose to open it. If you just click directly, it will simply navigate to the next page. And as you can see, it gives you a better quality of the image and also a larger size of the image. Then on the right, it gives you an excerpt. It's an automatically generated excerpt. So something that you can call perhaps the abstract. Okay. And then, of course, the title and the authors are right here. Also, the source. It tells you this from PLOS Pathogens, Public Library of Science Pathogens. That's a journal. It was published in 2015. And when you move down below the image, you now see issues of copyright and license. I'm not going to be speaking about these. It's outside the scope of what you're doing right now. But then you see that the link to the full text, okay, is right here, Pubmed Central. So if you want to read a full article, you can go here, Pubmed Central. Pubmed Central is the digital archive of Pubmed, or the NCBI, that's the National Center for Biotechnology Information, which is a subdivision of the National Library of Medicine that is under the National Institutes of Health of the United States government, all right? So Pubmed Central is a central archive or digital archive for all publicly funded research in the US, or all NIH-sponsored research. So if NIH sponsors your research, you should be sure that it is going to end up in the Pubmed Central. So at this point, I may not cover Pubmed Central in my demonstrations, but you should know there's a slight difference between Pubmed and Pubmed Central. Pubmed is just the interface for discovering the biomedical and health sciences literature. So it is basically a bibliographic database. Pubmed does not give you the full text. It only gives you the abstract or summaries of the article, but provides links to the full text. And one of the links it will provide you, particularly if that full text is free, is the Pubmed Central, which is the digital archive of the National Library of Medicine. So what it means is that Pubmed Central can contain much more than Pubmed, because Pubmed Central is the archive for all publicly funded research in the US. Now, all here means all other subject areas, not only the biomedical sciences. So it is possible to get articles in Pubmed Central that are not necessarily available through Pubmed. All right. It is also possible at the same time to see a lot of Pubmed index articles that are not available in Pubmed Central, because Pubmed is simply indexing for Medline. Okay, for those in the health sciences or biomedical science, they know Medline very well. All right, so Pubmed indexes for Medline and several other biomedical and health sciences sources, but Pubmed Central is simply an archive. All right, so with that explained and said, I believe you try all these options: the text searching, image searching. All these are types of search that you do, and they're all useful and acceptable, you know. Whichever way, as I mentioned from the very beginning, there is no right or wrong when it comes to search. And I'm going to repeat that again when I start with the types of searches themselves. Whatever means you use to get what you want, as long as it is relevant to your topic and as long as it helps further the scholarly discussion, it is acceptable. However, what we are dealing with right now is about how you can be more efficient. All right. So on this note,
I would like to move to the next session where we do not have a particular item open. As I mentioned, the same publishers publish some journals open access. These same publishers retain subscription for some of the other journals. So if we don't have a particular publication open access, okay, it is likely that our library has a subscription to it. So it is important at this stage to mention that you must be working with your librarians on any research journey. You should understand that your institution may have already acquired or paid for certain content that you may not be aware of. And so when you are in the search endeavor and you come across any of these difficulties in acquiring content, simply contact your librarian. They can give you a better advice. Sometimes beyond the subscriptions, your librarians may also have personal access to some of these resources from sister libraries based on certain policies like interlibrary loans or other professional networks that they can use or leverage to help you have access to the content. So I'll first give the example of UHAS Library. So in your institution, if you're a student, your university library, if you are a professional, maybe your special library, for example, the teaching hospital may have its own library or any other special corporate library, all right? You may have access to certain resources already. For example, at UHAS, you can visit our catalog, okay, for the print resource descriptions, or under e-resource, you can see that we have quite a number of them. We have the subscribe resources, we have free online resources, there are discovery tools that we talk about, and of course, a digital archive that is being, set up. Now, under subscribe resources, you can see that we have a trial access to the Gale Reference Complete, and I hope quite a number of our faculty are taking advantage of this. Research4Life is actually a gateway, okay, a gateway to several. In fact, maybe I should click on this for us to have a look at Research4Life, for example. So in Research4Life, you can see that we have content and we have collections. So there are actually 5 main collections. They used to be called programs: the Hinari, which is health; Agora for Agric; ADI for development and innovation; GOLI for the social sciences or global justice, that is for legal information; then OWARI for environmental science, all right? Now, under the content, you see that there are journal collections, there are book collections, we have reference sources, databases, plenty of these stuff. So if you go to any one of these, for example, databases, if I should log in right now, and maybe I should take the time to do that. And this is what we call a privileged access. Okay, so because I belong to an institution that has access to these resources, if I want to use, I'll use a temporary access anyway. It's not the UHAS access, it's a temporary access made for this particular tutorial we are doing currently. And so, all right, so now I have access, and if I go, for example, to databases, you can see the number of databases that we have access to. So Research4Life is such a gateway to several resources. It is not a database, it is not a journal, it is just a platform that links us to several publishers, okay, and their content. So for example, I have access to databases, 43 of them. Okay, you can see some of them named here. If I scroll down, a number of them that some of you may be familiar with, CINAL, for example, is here, the site CRX, the CNKI, Global Academic Focus. Dimensions, one of the very new databases with very complex algorithms for full text searching. You can even paste a whole abstract, okay, and Dimensions will search everything for you. Direct open access journals, we just did that. Well, Embase, we are not going to be having access, but for the temporary login, we have access here. So for those who deal with evidence-based medicine, our clinical practitioners and the rest, Embase will be very important. Those in systematic reviews, environmental index, environmental science collection. So this is what we mean by subscription. So if your library has a subscription, definitely
you are going to be having access to many of the toll-gated literature, all right? So you will not have to worry about it has to be open access, it has to be this. So of course, talking about the evidence-based, again, you have John Abrams Institute, okay, they have their database, that's evidence-based practice. You have the Lens, another very new database, I think it's open access. You have the Microsoft Academic Search, which is also free. You have Pubmed. Pubmed is here. The interesting thing about Pubmed over here is that the Pubmed you are seeing here in Research4Life is not the open Pubmed that you can just go to pubmed.gov. This one is linked to our summon search of the discovery tool in Research4Life. And so there are results that you get if you use Pubmed to Research4Life, which you will not have access to if you use Pubmed in isolation. Because the Pubmed used through Research4Life is able to connect with all the free access that we have from the publishers, which may not be available in the open Pubmed. So of course, Scopus is also here, full access. For the temporary login that we have, of course, the country instance for Ghana does not include Scopus, Embase, and the rest. But of course, institutions vary. So the teaching hospital, for example, Old Teaching Hospital, they may have some databases because of their peculiar nature as a teaching hospital that the universities may not have all of that. So that is why, you know, collaborations are important, and it's also good that you contact your professional intermediaries because they will have knowledge of where to look for a particular information when you are haggard, and they will support you in all of that. So this is about what we call a library subscription or an institutional access to certain databases, why you need to work with your librarian. Of course, beyond the subscriptions, the librarians can also be talked to because professionally they have certain special abilities. And of course, I shared this thing last week. I'll share it again in this special recording that, yes, librarians are referred to as search engines who return the right results, okay? And this image here is an interesting one. It says, Google can bring you back 100,000 answers. A librarian can bring you back the right one. That's Neil Gaiman. It's an interesting quote, and it tells the whole truth about why you should consult your librarians. Apart from that, your librarians or information professionals, as I mentioned, also have you know, the ability to help you discover certain things that you may not have your eyes on because they are trained information professionals. Sometimes it is possible that the information is right there, but the way you are formulating your search query is preventing you from accessing that. If you get a picture. So the librarian can help you to negotiate your reference question to try and understand what is it you are looking for. And are you looking in the right sources? All those kinds of negotiation can happen when you are working with an information professional. So remember, you've got to work with a librarian when it comes to looking for information. All right. Now, there's more information right here, okay, in the comments that I have added to the outline for our presentation. But as I mentioned, with the technical failure to record this at first hand last week, we have the opportunity now to also break the recording into smaller, you know, collections. So I'm going to stop here, and then I'll return to deal with the types of search, the second item. So I'll be dealing with basic search, advanced search, and systematic search. And then we'll continue with the rest, reviewing and refining your search, and the others that will lead us to what I have prescribed here as further learning from the JSTOR database. Thank you very much for watching this first part of the show. I'll come again with the next important stages. Thanks.